My stepbrother was in love with my girlfriend, and my stepmother made my dad ask me to break up with her. That movement changed everything and tore my family apart. Watch and what happened next. My stepmother coerced my dad into demanding I break up with my girlfriend because of my stepbrother's feelings, leading me to leave home. Years later, he accused me of destroying his life. Now in my 30s, I've had no connection with my father's family for over a decade, and it all traces back to his remarriage. When I was a young child, my parents split because their love had faded. As an adult, I understand this, but as a kid, it shattered me. I often lashed out, and we went to family therapy. My mom tried to see my perspective, but my dad just seemed to accept things as they were. This made me closer to my mother, and I only stayed with my dad for short periods. Tragically, when I was in my early teens, my mom passed away in an accident, forcing me to live with my father. Those were the darkest days of my life, worsened because I felt alone in my grief. My dad had been seeing a woman named Beth for years, and they got engaged around the time of my mom's death. My father prioritized his future with Beth over our shared past, showing no signs of mourning. This left me feeling isolated as a teenager. Beth was overwhelming, expecting me to follow her rules and trying to act like my mom. I resisted, as she could never replace my mother so soon. To make matters worse, she blatantly favored her son, Josh, from a previous relationship, pulling strings to get him better roles in sports and school activities. Josh sometimes called her out, but he still reaped the benefits. My teenage years were tough, grappling with my mom's loss, a father who never challenged Beth, and a stepbrother who was distant and awkward around me. I focused on surviving until I could leave for college. I attended a university in my home state, and to save money, stayed with my dad and his family. I paid some rent and contributed to groceries, so I wasn't a burden. Tensions arose when I started dating Laura during college. I often brought her home, and it became clear Josh had a crush on her. I confronted him privately, asking him to stop acting oddly around her, but his feelings persisted. At first I thought it was a passing infatuation, but Josh was deeply affected. His grades dropped, he struggled with test prep, and he acted lovesick. I tried to be the mature older brother, limiting Laura's visits and ignoring his obvious feelings. I later learned Beth had spoken to Josh about his behavior, and he confessed his crush. Beth, after some twisted reasoning, decided I was to blame for Josh's struggles and convinced my dad to intervene. One day, my father sat me down and said we needed to renegotiate my stay. He claimed my hobbies and guests were distracting Josh. Confused, I asked if my friends were a bad influence, as we generally kept to ourselves. He clarified that it wasn't about my friends. It was about Josh's feelings for Laura. He suggested I end my relationship to keep peace in the family, implying a girlfriend shouldn't outweigh my brother's well-being. I laughed, finding the idea absurd. Still chuckling, I refused, pointing out I'd already reduced Laura's visits and warned Josh about his behavior. I suspected Beth had pushed my dad to appease Josh, who seemed to have an "if I can't have her, no one can" mindset. The conversation escalated into a huge argument, and I chose to stay with Laura and leave home. I packed, changed my phone number, and crashed with a friend before moving in with Laura. My scholarship covered college, but I worked hard to afford rent and utilities. I cut all ties with my father's family, only staying in touch with a few relatives on my mom's side. Over a decade later, Laura and I are happily married, love our careers, and recently bought our first home. We're even trying for a child. Leaving that toxic environment was the best choice I made. But recently, Josh showed up at my house, stirring up old memories. Stunned, I let him in, and we caught up. He already knew about my life, likely from social media. Then he explained his visit. Josh admitted his obsession with Laura and Beth's role in it, but insisted he never wanted me to leave home. That was Beth's doing. He said after I left, Beth seemed relieved, and the house felt cold. They moved out of state soon after, which I didn't know. Josh felt guilty about how things played out and had moved on from Laura. However, his mental health suffered, leading him to drop out of college and drift, doing odd jobs. He left home after a decade due to Beth's distress over his lack of success. He asked for help settling in my area, maybe a job at my workplace, but I explained it'd be tough without qualifications. Josh argued I owed him for leaving him with our dysfunctional family, claiming we were still brothers. After he left, I felt torn. I don't think I owe him, but seeing him struggle is hard. Laura wants no contact with my family but suggested we help him somehow. Would I be wrong to cut off my stepbrother? After advice, I decided to offer Josh temporary housing and encourage him to find work independently. I'm unsure about a close bond, but I don't owe him for his struggles. I did what was best for me. Months later, Josh is thriving in our town. He's changed, working as a junior manager at a local store and attending night school for a degree. The support we provided helped, and I'm starting to want a relationship with him, but I'm bothered by his belief that I owe him for leaving. My relatives suggested addressing it. I confronted Josh about his expectations. He's grown into a good person, and after some time, he apologized for placing unfair blame on me and thanked me for the help. Laura's warmed to him after he apologized for his past behavior. He's welcome in our home now, but we both have no love for Beth or my dad. I'm not wrong in this, and neither is Josh anymore. Beth's the real problem for enabling his actions. I'd stay cautious with Josh, not because he's at fault, but to process our shared trauma from our toxic parents. Is Josh still in contact with them? Best friend Sarah's baby shower. Sarah and I bonded in college over shared interests like music, becoming inseparable. After graduation, I pursued a career in law while Sarah explored social media for income. Despite our different paths, we made time for each other. I met my husband, Michael, during a night out with Sarah, and we fell deeply in love. We've been happily married for years, and I often thank Sarah for that night. Sarah later married Mark, and when she announced her pregnancy, I was thrilled to plan her baby shower as the godmother. We chose a yellow theme, Sarah's favorite color, and I coordinated with the caterer, whom I'd worked with before. On the day, we arrived early to set up. Mark greeted us, saying Sarah was still preparing. I adjusted the cake's position to meet Sarah's request. Guests, including old college friends, arrived, and we caught up. Sarah entered in a vibrant yellow outfit, glowing as everyone congratulated her. The lunch was lovely until Sarah got everyone's attention. She thanked us, then announced she had someone special to thank for her baby, pointing at my husband and declaring him the father. I nearly choked. The room went silent, everyone stunned. My husband, who avoids the spotlight, gripped my hand, looking as confused as I felt. For context, we've struggled with infertility for years, a painful issue I shared with Sarah. Her claim, though false, hit hard. Tears welled up as I tried not to break down. Sarah laughed, revealing it was a prank for her Instagram, with cameras recording our reactions. I was furious she thought this was funny, especially given our history. The room stayed tense with only a few nervous laughs. Mark, Sarah's husband, looked upset, later apologizing to us. I didn't confront Sarah to avoid ruining her day, but the unease lingered. My husband wanted to leave, but I convinced him to stay to avoid attention. Mark, also uncomfortable, asked Sarah to step outside. Their heated argument was audible, with Mark calling her prank cruel and embarrassing. My husband eventually left for the car, unable to stay. Mark, seeing this, told Sarah he was done with her immaturity and left, ending their relationship. Sarah broke down, and I left without saying goodbye, prioritizing my husband. At home, we were shocked by Sarah's cruelty. Mark texted us an apology, unaware of her plan. Sarah messaged me, claiming the prank was due to pregnancy stress and asking me to drive her to a doctor's appointment. Upset, I told her the prank was hurtful and I needed space. She called me a bad friend for abandoning her. My husband suggested cutting contact until she understood her actions. I sent a final message, demanding an apology and threatening legal action if she posted the video. Sarah refused to apologize, accusing me of jealousy over her pregnancy. She claimed she'd been using me for years, insulting me and my husband. Devastated, I blocked her. A week later, I learned Sarah isn't typically a prankster, making her actions shocking. Mark is pursuing divorce, ignoring Sarah's pleas. She accused him of cheating with me, which is false. She sent my husband a nasty message, mocking our infertility. Furious, I canceled her baby registry, which included overpriced items, and refused to pay the remaining catering bill, which Sarah had to cover. I'm done forgiving her and ready to move on. Sarah emailed me, accusing me of being cheap and arrogant, mocking my infertility, and insulting my appearance and marriage. My husband deleted it, furious at her cruelty after years of our support. We showed the email to Mark, who shared similar texts from Sarah. He's documenting everything for his divorce lawyer. Some suggested Sarah's behavior might indicate a medical issue, but her past temper suggests otherwise. We'll inform her parents, but I won't reconnect. I'm focusing on my life with my husband and dogs. Update 3. Mark and Sarah are divorced, with Mark winning the case, using evidence and their prenup. They're working on co-parenting for their daughter. Sarah moved in with her parents, unable to support herself. Mutual friends distanced themselves after the shower. Mark was there for the birth and supports his daughter. Sarah paid the catering bill after threats of legal action. She sent me blaming emails, but tests confirm she's healthy, so her behavior is inexcusable. My husband and I moved on, enjoying our marriage and a recent Maldives vacation. We empathize with others facing infertility, trusting life's journey.